On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
So I always say the business owner he's the guy that usually the small business owner, he's dealing with the finances and he's
Yep.
dealing with the guys in the field
Yep.
and he's dealing with the customers and throw in the marketing and all that other stuff in there. He's kind
Sure.
of dealing with all those, and you can learn to let go and give those responsibilities to somebody else and hire good people. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm worried.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings. Sheldon Stewart is on the King stage today. How you doing, Sheldon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
100%. Not just a king in the business. You've been a king in the business for quite some time now. I'm excited to have someone with as much history in business as you do. So, Sheldon, what type of business do you have?
So we have a interior, exterior painting company that provides house washing and carpentry service.
I love it. And so, I love talking to trades and guys like you, because when I say guys like you, because they're guys like me. I feel like someone who can dial in to the basics, like what you just said. These are our 3 core foundations of what we offer, and build a big business around it. I just have so much respect for. So before we dive into your history and how you got started, all that fun stuff, I want to know, why are you still pressing at this level? Like, you've got decades of history. Why are you still pressing into Stewart Painting Incorporated?
My wife asks me the same question every day. I think I think that I'm a driven person and I find growth and next step. I love it. And so I love doing what I do. And, I'm surrounded by people. Well, not surrounded by people, but I talk to people all the time that say, all they talk about is retirement.
Sure.
It's great. I think it's a great goal, and I have the same goal. I'm going about it a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, to maybe expound on that, tell me if I'm wrong here, but retirement to you looks, sounds, feels a little different.
It does. I think that it's not in my DNA to have I don't even know what retirement is. The old retirement of you turn 60 years old or 65 years old and you retire, you have a pension, and that ship sailed for me a long time ago when I decided to have this business.
That's right.
So that being said, if you love what you do, which I do, I just have to find a way to still make this portion of my life part of my retirement.
Yeah. I love that. It's basically just an extension of your lifestyle. I think everybody would say that, retirement is to do the things that you love, right? Like, I get to travel now, I get to do all these things. And for guys like you and I, we love business. We love building, we love pressing in and all this stuff. So why would we remove that from the time when we're supposed to be doing what we love? Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, how many people do you see or hear about that stop doing what they love to do or what they love to have, and they do something else and they're not happy?
Yeah.
They're doing what, fits in the box of what they're supposed to do.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think you're going to get so much wisdom in the coming minutes here. So I want to get to your story. You've obviously been in business a long time. Tell us how you got started and how long you've been in business. Give us a little bit of the history here.
Yeah. So I've been in business 40 years, and back in really how it started for me is back in high school when everybody used to be a painter for a particular coach. And I said, gee, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a great summer job. I was a freshman in high school, and I went and saw him. He said, sorry, you're too small.
Wow.
Small? Yeah. What do you mean? To be a house painter? So it really motivated me to start lifting weights and to then,
Wow.
because I knew my sophomore year, I was going to be on that guy's team. And so I won. He said, oh, yeah. And then, then it was the junior year and then it was the senior year. And then I started doing jobs on my own.
Wow.
And it just started, when I was in college, I had 12 people working for me when I was in college. So I
Wow.
would deal with, of course, now it was like any other college student sometimes.
It's-
Having a business, right? It was a little disorganized.
I'm sure.
But it was survival. And I love the hunt. I love the thrill of it. And I'm still going to college.
I picked out a theme here, or maybe something that can be picked up by the listener. Tell me if you agree. I heard that you say that business owner that you work for, he taught or he coached through the year so that he wouldn't have any labor shortages in the busiest time of the year, which is the summer. Is that what I heard him do?
Oh, that's what you heard.
He was a good recruiter, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, he had to figure it out.
That's
Oh,
right. That's
high
right.
school
Well,
kids through the summer.
exactly. Well, I think it's remarkable actually that you being, 15, 16, 17 years old and your desire is to want to be on this guy's crew. I would have been in the same place. I was working construction in the same age, especially in the summertime. And to have a little bit of guidance around like running a business around it would have been fantastic. But okay, so you start your business shortly after high school if you were doing it in college.
Yeah.
You're running 12 guys in a crew while you're in college going to class, or were you even going to class?
Yes. Now it was probably more seasonal than anything, right? Because
Sure.
you go to school and it's the end of the season or the tail end of the season, so you're trying to wrap up, the
Right.
5 or 6 jobs that you get going, and
That's right.
then you roll into the winter time and you try to set up some stuff for when you're coming home on winter break.
Right. Right. And again for the springtime and then again for the summer. So, okay. So tell us when it became, maybe not real is not the right word, but tell me when it became like full blown.
Oh, okay. So it was probably the summer of 85.
Okay.
85. And the person that I had worked for and been doing some other projects for, my first boss, he came to me and he said, I need to talk to you. And I said, oh, this is great. It's going to make me a partner. This is great. And he came to me and he said, I'm out of the business. I'm closing up shop. I'm moving to New Hampshire. And here's 10 houses that I'm going to give you all my customer list. And here's 10 houses. If you want them, you can have them.
Wow.
And I said, well, all right, I'll do it.
See what happens.
So that's how I begun in college to continue to have this painting company.
Got it.
And I started out that way. And, I can still remember the days I come home in the summertime and there'd be 50, messages on a machine and I would just erase every one of them. Yeah, I just
Whoa.
didn't know, I was young, I had a lot of, I had a couple of houses in front of me. It was great.
That's all you needed.
Those days changed quickly.
That's right. That's right. Well, especially when you can build out some teams and 50 houses can go by like this, as opposed to back in the day, you were just trying to keep up with the 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It made me realize early on that I wanted to do or be something more than someone that had 5 or 6 or 10 houses in front of me. And, in the wintertime, I'm dying to listen to the recordings and call people back. And in the summertime, I just wanted to erase every one of them, so I knew there had to be a better road for this.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that, because obviously getting that under wrap or organized probably helped you put together some real systems. Was there something along the way that changed it from, I mean, I guess after you accepted those 10 and maybe after you got out of college, but was there that play where you were like, okay, now is when I'm leaning into more than just the 10 houses that are ahead of me type of a thing?
Yeah. Well, I think the reality is that the painting industry, I would drive, around and I would look at all the different painters and I would always migrate to the most successful ones. And And I always wanted to be like them. And I would go to the paint store in the morning when they were there. And I'm a young guy, and these guys were like 65 years old. They had these established 60, 70, 80-year in business,
Right.
multi-generational. That's what I wanted. And I realized in our industry, there's so many people that have a ladder and have a truck and they have a name on the side of it, and that's their company.
Right.
And how do you separate yourself from that? How you separate yourself from that
Yeah.
was my goal.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you do that?
Well, it took a lot of failing forward, I would say. I was never afraid to try something new, to have different people working for me. People would say, "Why do you have pink sweaters and with black lettering?" And I
Yeah.
was just always trying to find a way to stand out.
Sure.
And then I want to say, when I started to get more vehicles and realize that you have to have different systems in place in order to
Yep.
to continue growing. And I started searching. I started reaching out to consultants in the industry, and I failed at a lot of them. Cost me a lot of money. But I
Yep.
knew that I needed to keep on searching until I could find someone to get me to the next level.
I love that perspective. So let's talk. Let's break down this journey here into some more practicals for the listener. So far, I'm hearing you say that even though there was, guys being successful, and then there's plenty of guys who weren't, you gravitated toward the successful ones. You were trying to emulate those guys. You're trying to get time around them, whether they realize it or not at the paint shop.
Yeah.
And so now I want to know, like, what was a decision along the way that was a good decision that you can look back on now, but you realize that it was like, the catapult to a lot of what you have today?
So, this is going to might sound strange to a lot of people, but
Okay.
when I was younger, and I mean in beginning days of college, I got into some debt by purchasing a home, and at those huge high interest rates. And, people always say debt is bad. You don't want a lot of debt. Well, for me, if I looked back, that debt created me.
Okay. How so?
It made me work. It made me realize that I didn't know. I mean, what is the peak of debt? When am I ever going to get out of it? How old am I going to be? And
Right.
and can I continue to take care of this amount of debt by myself,
Right.
or do I need a lot of people to help me
Yeah.
to work for me? Right, many hands.
That's right.
So the debt, and I talk to people about this. Maybe not now, but back when I was starting, the debt really, it made me apply myself in a different direction than I would have gone had I had no debt.
Yeah. I'm hearing you say, I mean, given I think today's culture of expectancy, or almost like everybody's got a handout type of a thing. I think that when you go get credit card debt or certain things, it's almost like expected to a degree. And there's no willingness to like fight to pay it back. But what I'm hearing you say that you got was this, like, okay, my back's against the rope. In order to survive, I got to go figure this thing out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think there's good debt and bad debt, right? I
Oh,
think,
sure.
and I had developed good debt, right? And I just knew that I was 21 years old and I had a mortgage that I had to pay. And
You got to get busy.
yeah, so how do you do it, right? And the biggest eye opener for me is getting turned down by so many establishments for credit. Or why? Because it wasn't a legitimate business. I wasn't, I did that 1099 thing, and I wasn't W-2s, and so it really made me focus on, I'm 23 years old, 24 years old.
Right.
What's my life going to be like if I was 35 years old?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think there's a huge takeaway there from I don't know, if I'm looking at you and I'm listening here today, I'm six figures. I haven't, reached the 7-figure mark. I'm listening to someone who's been in business for 40 years. there's been a common theme of professionalism or almost just like a taking it serious that you've given to us just in the last 20 minutes. But I think the reality is that there's a lot of guys, like you're saying, they kind of just like they have a side hustle. They have a little thing that I kind of just dabble with. And what the differentiator, if we go back to that common theme that you just shared with a couple minutes ago, is that the guys who took it seriously probably had a uniform. They probably carried themselves a specific way. They had clean vehicles or whatever the thing down the line is. It wasn't just, hey, I've got a paintbrush, a ladder, and a truck.
Yeah.
And so, would you say, just kind of staying on this vein for another half second, is that like the differentiator between kind of like the Joker, the guy who's just kind of spinning around doing the half jobs, and the real deal company, or is there anything else that will go along with that to really
You know,
differentiate?
I've told people I think that money is well, a lot of people get into an industry to make money,
Sure.
and and I certainly get it, but the you're probably not going to make money unless you build your brand in that industry to be at the highest point that you can get it to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to have 100 or 200 or 500 employees. You might just want two or three. But if you're only doing it for the money, then I always say the money will never come.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and always doing the right thing is, I think, is really, really important. It was important for me, and it's one of our mission statements that we always do the right thing, and the right thing for me doesn't mean it's the right thing for you, but you've got to be true to yourself.
Yeah. 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 I think the perspective there of, yeah, even just what you just said, like just being true to yourself. I think that there's a lot of folks, especially in today's world, that are dipping the toe in. And I'm hearing someone like you who's got decades of experience, if they just drew the line and decided to do this thing for real and treated it like it was real, it sounds like that's half the battle.
It really is. I mean, it's simple for me. Just I want to do more of what I do. I don't want to do more of other things. I just want to do more of what I do. And the better I can do more of that, the the, the better my brand.
Yeah.
And I always say it's brand, and I like to, what really is going to separate you from the next guy or the last guy. And it might not be a uniform, and it may not be like your trucks. It may be something more. It might be that, you're involved in the community,
Right.
that you give back to the community.
Yep. Yep.
It might be that people around you see you for more than what you are, even though they know exactly what you do.
Yeah. There's so many perspectives that go into that. So I love that. Okay. Let's flip the coin to your bad decision. I'm sure you've got plenty of them over 4 decades, but give us just a really, really dirty, nasty one.
Oh man. So when I first thought that I needed to really improve the systems, and I needed to bring a consultant on board, and boy, I'll tell you, I brought the first consultant I ever brought on. I almost lost my whole company. I mean,
Wow.
it's that typical, crack at 10 grand or 12 grand or whatever they're going to do. And they come in and
Yep.
it was a weekend of, oh, this is going to be great. And then he left on a Monday, and and everybody came to me, and it almost derailed me. So what I thought was going to be so terrific and get me to the next level almost did exactly the opposite,
Yeah. Why do you think that was?
because I wasn't ready for it. You're not always ready for that type of culture change, right?
Right.
And I had a culture that I had created for, 10 years. And now all of a sudden someone's going to come in and say, we'll change everything. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here for you when you do it. You're going to do it on your own.
Yep.
And it was devastating. It really was. I went from, and he told me I'd be prepared to lose some employees. I just wasn't prepared to lose all of my employees.
Oh, yeah. That's no bueno. It's funny. I've had these talks with entrepreneurs over the years, and I think there's a certain profile that wants things done for them. And then there's guys like you and I where we're like, wait, whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. I have, it may not be perfect, but I've like put some like real blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And I don't want you to actually come in and do it for me. I would just give me the framework and then let me do it because there's relationships, there's a blood, sweat, and tears. There's specific things along the way, especially with employees that I would never just want to take a new way of thinking or a new culture, a new something, and just here you go. I think that,
Memory is everything.
yeah,
Right?
man.
No one likes change. They like the results of change, but they don't,
That's right.
they want to lose the 20 pounds. They just don't want that thing in the middle called the diet, right?
That's
So,
right. That's right.
so,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was an eye-opening experience for me.
Well, now you've said you've hired them since then, and so I assume that you've had better results. And so tell us how you were maybe more prepared the second or the third or however many you've hired.
Well, I would say the consulting firm that we use still today is they're a culture firm. They really believe in culture and that the change is implemented by the company, not by them.
Sure.
And I think that is so important is to recognize how your company proceeds change. How do they adapt to it? Do you have integrators? Do you have, I mean, who is going to push the change? Do you
Yeah.
have, and who is going to push against it and who's going to absorb it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really think that the thing that I learned the most about change is that you really have to introduce it to your culture so you're not forcing it down their throat.
Sure.
So I think that there's a lot of consulting firms out there. I like partnership consulting firms that help you and are there to support and not just give you a bag of goods to sell to your team and
Right.
they get their bag of goods and they leave you with your bag of goods.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Yeah. One's more relational, one's more transactional. And I think that we're definitely in alignment on that. That's what I prefer as well. It's interesting, especially with the uh, topic of change. We've had several folks in my different teams and different businesses that I have, but say different things about change. But they all know if they're working for me, they know things are going to change, and it's probably the only constant. And it's actually funny. I had one of the gals on my team give a presentation. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. We were in an in-person mastermind and delivering some information for some guys, and she shared about this topic, but to watch her growth in it, knowing that like it change is very difficult for certain profiles, like you just said, hers being one of them. She's very detailed, very structured, and ruffling the already said lane that she's established makes it difficult. And so we've had to bob and weave over the course of time together. But I'll tell you, she's better now because she can be flexible. But at the same time, I'm better because I've had to deal with someone like her and many others on how to be able to deliver change in a way that they can absorb. Because like you said, some people it just bounces right off. Where guys like you and me were like, great, like let's make a change. Let's go. Let's run.
Move right down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now, change the whole name. Change the whole business. We'll do it right now. Who cares? Okay. So I want to ask you about any disciplines or process that you have around decision making. Again, you've made so many decisions over a course of 40 years. What process do you take them through?
So I believe in one, I think that I'm a big believer in checklists and I have a management team and I think a lot of decisions you have to let go of a lot of decisions. You
Yep.
have to let other people, empower them to make decisions. They may be good ones, they may be bad ones. But like I said, I got here by failing forward. So if someone on my team has to fail forward, I have to be strong enough to watch it.
That's right. That's right.
So,
It's a good way to say it.
some of my, I believe in clarity. I think that it should be on the same page. I think that I'm okay with multiple people on my management team knowing the finances of the company,
Sure.
making decisions, setting goals. I think goal setting is probably whether we do it yearly and then we break it down into quarterly goal setting. I think that it's probably one of the most important things that we we do. It's the roadmap for, either success or failure, but at least it's a roadmap to get you back in track, back online.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, so many entrepreneurs don't even do this for themselves individually. And so I would take what you just said as a process of making decisions and quarterly meetings and being able to give things away. I love it. I think you're 100% right. And I think that the listener is challenged by that for sure. And I think that potentially even step one for them is to create their own goals, create their own quarterly targets. Are they meeting with themselves? Are they creating their roadmap for the next 90 days? Otherwise, like you said, where are we going?
I mean, even a vision. I mean, we'll write a 3-year vision. It's a chance for you to dream, right? Well, so
It is.
where am I going to be in 2025?
That's right.
And you get to have fun with it. Don't make it a weight. Have fun with it. But I think a vision is. I think a great vision drives all goals.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I would even add on to that the communication of said vision, like you said, gives clarity to the team. So I love that you said that. I think that if they don't know what they're doing or where you're trying to take them, how can they run hard? How can they get behind you?
Right. And the unknown. Yeah, everybody is tucked around the water cooler, right? But they really don't know the direction.
Right.
Show them the direction.
Yep.
Then they don't have to guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is hard. I think even for guys like you and I, like you said, we've had to implement systems over the course of time. I don't think either one of us are perfect yet, but it's still a work in progress where we're still meeting. We're still putting things together. We're still sharing the vision. We're still trying to bring more clarity, because I think that people operate at a whole nother level if they can not only understand what they're trying to accomplish, but inside of what it is that you're trying to accomplish as the entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah. I learn every day best ways to communicate with people. It's a challenge for me, right?
Every day.
How I communicate to this person is not the same way I can communicate to that person.
That's right.
And so I learn every day. I never stick my head in the sand and say, I can't learn anything today.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And you kind of just brushed on it just so briefly there, but one of the keys to success, I think. All right, Sheldon, I want to transition to our speed round. I'm going to ask you a question here, and some of these are going to be one-word answers, but the first question is this. If you could dwindle your entire business down to one trackable metric, what would it be?
Probably net operating profit.
Okay. And why is that for you?
Because GP and things like that can get eaten up and they can look better than that. And if you try to spread some wealth, people will find a way. If you're based on just the GP, they'll find a way to make that a bad thing. Where the net is the net. And this is what we're really dealing with here, people.
Yep. Yeah, it includes the whole story.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes you got to read the whole book to get down to that last closing line.
Yeah. No, you're so true. So right. Okay. What book would you recommend that a 6-figure business owner read?
That is an interesting thing, because just to find the time to read multiple books, I think
it's a decision.
I mean, The Secret by Ken Blanchard, or Seven Habits of a Highly Efficient People by Stephen Covey. Those are some good books.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, I'll stop at 3 or 4 books, 5 or 6 books, and have them all going.
Yep.
Well, I do like Jack Canfield. I think he's got some great books. But I don't know if there's just one book that I could point out to say you read this one book, it's going to get you from.
Sure.
I don't know if it's just one.
That's all right. I think there's several examples there that you gave to us that are mighty fine. Next question is, do you intentionally network or mastermind with other entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Okay. And why?
Best practices. I want to know I communicate with other painting contractors all over the country.
Sure.
I like to know what the temperature read is out there with hiring and best practices and culture changes. So I think it's, do I network? I also network where I'm located.
Sure.
But I think it's important to network. I think it's important to be amongst your peers. I think so few people do it.
Right.
It's that whole competition thing. And it's too bad, I think. I think there's so much to be learned because you know what? We're all living in a really great place in a big area and there's plenty of work for everybody.
That's right.
I think we can just learn a lot from our peers.
Yeah, 100%. I love that perspective. It's very abundance mindset as opposed to scarcity. And you're right. There's plenty of work, especially if you're doing the things that you talked about earlier in the show, which is differentiating yourself from those folks that aren't your peers, maybe, but they're just in the industry.
Mhm.
I think that there are lots of ways to do that pretty quickly if someone's like actually taking the business pretty seriously or not. So, okay. Next question is this. If you only had 1 hour in the week, so each week you only get 1 hour to work on the business, what would you do in that 1 hour to successfully run your business now, like you do now?
I had 1 hour. I would speed coach 3 divisions: sale, finance, and production.
There you go. What other divisions are there?
Well, so I always say the business owner he's the guy that usually the small business owner, he's dealing with the finances and he's
Yep.
dealing with the guys in the field
Yep.
and he's dealing with the customers
Right.
and, and throw in the marketing and all that other stuff in there. He's
Sure.
kind of dealing with all those. And if you can learn to let go and give those responsibilities to somebody else
Right.
and, hire good people. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm worried. So I just think that if I had an opportunity, I like to coach. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the skill set, like you said, it's best used. And then obviously you could touch those most important areas. I think it'd be great. All right. Last question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you lost it all, Sheldon, what would you do? What would you do?
Oh yeah. This is where they would probably say they'd put me into a special place or something. But if I lost it all tomorrow,
Yeah.
I would start over and guess what I'd be doing? The same thing.
You'd start painting the next day.
Oh man, look at all those lessons I have learned
Yeah.
that I never got to implement, right?
Yeah.
Or that I learned too late.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing. The number one thing I wish I had learned or knew is to plan the end at the beginning.
Yep.
Because everything you do from that visionary point at the beginning of your career will have steps towards the end of the career. And instead we just, you think about it too late and then you have to cram things in.
That's right.
So, but yeah, that I would enjoy to do it all over again. And I would do a lot of things differently.
I just so appreciate a few things that you just said. I want to just say them again for the benefit of the listener, but you just said, I would enjoy to do it all over again. And I think that takes a certain level of crazy, which I put myself in the same category. So I'm not calling you out at all. I think it's why guys like me have started multiple companies because I just get the certain feeling of, wow, look what I can do, or look what we did as a team, and let's go do it again in different industry or different type of thing. And so I love the word enjoy. I think you just took pleasure in the idea. Like I could see it in your mind. You were like, wow, if I could let go of all these things, I could do it again. And that would be so much fun. I just think that there is something to be said about a guy who's been in business 40 years, who has that response rather than, well, I'm just a couple years out. Probably should just hang it up. Like that's just not the guy who's going to be on the show, number one. But then number two, who's going to be at the level that you are. Like you just didn't get here by accident. That's what I want the listener to hear, that Sheldon didn't get here by accident. And it's this mindset right here. This, I would enjoy to do it all over. And of course, to apply all the lessons that you didn't get to yet, like such a abundance mentality. I just so love it. What do you want to add to that? Yeah, I can see you over there typing.
I think that, if I had learned to relax a little bit more or had a couple of different hobbies, I might have chosen to be, a bartender in the Caribbean. But I didn't. So
now you can just go there and enjoy
now and just go
the bar
there.
in the Caribbean.
Said, "Geez,
Yeah.
glad I'm not a bartender in the Caribbean.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, your perspective has just been an honor to hear, and I just appreciate the time as it's the most precious thing that we have. The fact that you would give it here today. How can the listener connect with you, Sheldon? How can they find you online or your website, or how do you want to have folks reach out to you? I'd love for them to be able to connect with you.
Yeah, our website is Stewart, STWART paint.com. And of course, I'm available by email anytime, Sheldon at stewartpaint.com.
Perfect. You have been just absolutely incredible. I hope that our relationship continues because, man, to have guys like you who are peers, but also years ahead in mindset and perspective is just so valuable. And so I just thank you for being here and giving us the time. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much. Thank you for all you do. This is a great platform. Awesome.
Yep. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing literally over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings literally exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.